Hello, welcome to this TUC Wales webinar on managing your workload. My name is David Pardey, and in this session I want to discuss some of the challenges that we face working from home and suggest some techniques you can use which will help to mitigate them and ensure that you can carry on doing your job as efficiently and effectively as you would like, whilst facing some of the challenges that working from home can present. I want to start by looking at some of the different roles that we play in our lives. We may well be parents of children and also the children of parents. We may well be a spouse or partner of our significant other and a member of various clubs, teams, associations in which we have particular roles that we play. And of course, we have our role as an employee, our work role. In each of these roles, there are certain behaviours which are expected of us and which we adopt. What we do, how we speak, including the kind of language that we use, and the way that we dress. Different roles we will put on different types of clothes for. Many people have a set of clothes that really they only ever wear to work. And although there may not be a formal uniform, nevertheless, they are part of the uniform that they adopt when they play their work role. And putting on those clothes is part of the process of getting ready to play the role. Also, many people will be commuting into work, sometimes for only a few minutes, others for quite lengthy periods of time. And that transitioning from home to work is also part of the transitioning from the domestic role into the work role. And it helps us to turn on our work brains so that we're ready for the working day. Now, the problem with working from home is, of course, that we miss out on that transitioning period, and we have to switch quite rapidly from being the parent or the spouse to being in our work role. So what can we do to help us make that transition more effectively? Well, one is still to wear your work uniform, and that doesn't mean putting on a smart top while you've got your pajamas or jogging bottoms on. It means dressing for work in such a way that you will feel that you are now in your work role. And that will help you in making that transition. But if you're also having to look after children, or you've still got other people living in the house with you who you're interacting with, you can find it quite difficult to maintain that work role. And one thing you might want to consider is whether or not it's possible to change your working day or even the working week to enable you to switch from these in and out of these different roles in a managed way. So that, for example, starting work a bit earlier so that you can, or working into the evening, so that you can take a period during the day when you transition back into a domestic role. Now, obviously, it depends on the nature of the job and the willingness of your employer to consider it. But if you can do that, you may well find it helps you to manage these different roles more effectively. And most importantly of all, we all need to accept that this is the new normal. People working from home do have children. They do have people knocking on the door to make deliveries. They do have other people in the house who are living their lives as well. And we need to come to terms with this and not become anxious about it. We must accept it for ourselves, and we must accept it for others. And it's part of that acceptance which will make this new normal a more tolerable process. The other thing we need to recognise is that going to work did give our workload a bit of a structure. We started at a particular time, we turned the computer on, we downloaded our emails, we had people we were interacting with during the day who were giving our work some sort of structure, which is perhaps no longer there quite as much as it used to be. And we need to impose that structure ourselves. And we can do this by planning our work a bit more than perhaps we would normally do. You can start doing this by creating a to-do list. And a to-do list is just what its name implies. It's a list of all the things you have to do, all the tasks you have to do. And it's quite important. Make sure you write everything down. And then distinguish those things which are a regular part of your working day or working week or even working month, that you will therefore be doing at regular intervals, from the tasks which are one-offs, are unusual, irregular, which you can't always predict you've got to do, or which you've never necessarily done before. You can then create a work schedule, which is just a list of the tasks you're going to perform, starting with those things which are regular. So you know you're going to do them, you know roughly when they have to be done by, you can write them into your calendar, your diary, into a work schedule on your computer, and allocate the amount of time you know it would normally take. And that's quite important because you have a good idea how much time these things can take. So in allocating them, you can give yourself a time slot that you can be reasonably confident about. Then with the other tasks, the one-off unusual tasks, you need to prioritize. Ask yourself the question, how urgent are they? Now, urgency is about how soon they have to be done. And that may be something that somebody has imposed on you, or which, because they're time contingent, if they're not done, then it's too late, you can't do them. And there are tasks which are important. That's to say, other people, other tasks are dependent on them. And we can often confuse importance and urgency. Just because something is really urgent, I've got to get my holiday schedule in, because if I don't, somebody might take the time that I wanted and I won't be able to have it. But in terms of other people, in terms of the organisation, that is not necessarily highly important. And then you can use an urgent important grid to start allocating your tasks to your schedule. Those tasks which are more urgent and more important need to be done soon, and they need to be done well. So give yourself enough time and put them into your work schedule as soon as you can to make sure that they get done. The less urgent but more important tasks do need to be done well, but they don't have to be done just yet. So look to the next few days, the next couple of weeks, to see, can you find a time when you can give them the attention that they deserve. Thirdly, there are the urgent but unimportant tasks which need to be got out of the way. And sometimes it's best just do these first so you can get them overdone quickly. And that's the important point. Because they're not important, you can afford to get them done really quickly and make sure that they are then completed so you don't have to worry about them. And finally, you've got the less urgent and less important tasks, which you need to ask the question, does this really need to be done? If it does, okay, allocate some time to do them. But it could be that you fit them in the odd few minutes that you might have free at the end of the day. It's the sort of task which, if you finish something early, you can pick up and deal with because you can do it pretty quickly. If it sits there and it doesn't get done for some time, you've got to ask the question, is it worth hanging on to this? And I used to work with someone who divided his desk up into these 4 quadrants, and that bottom right-hand corner was right near his waste bin. And frequently he'd look at things and think, nobody's asked for it, I haven't needed to do it, why is it sitting here? I need to stick it into the waste bin. Now, you may not be able to do that with your tasks, but it is a question that you've got to ask yourself, does this need to be done? So, we are now faced with a novel situation, but it could be an opportunity for us to find much more effective ways of working for ourselves and our organisations. We might be able to improve our home life balance by working more often from home once this crisis situation is ended. And we may well find that we can become better able to manage our work by using the sorts of techniques that I've been talking about here. So look at this as an opportunity, not as a threat. Take control of your work, don't let it control you. And you may well find that in the long run, we can get some really positive benefits out of this. I've got another session in which I talk about managing your workspace, which is a companion piece to this, and you may well find that that helps you as well in coping with some of the unusual situations that you find yourself in now working from home. But thank you for watching this, and I hope you find our other videos useful.